All right. If you like Victoria 3 in a really detailed way, this video is for you. If you want to know why the economy is broken, I'm going to walk you through it. It's in the production method files. Okay, there's some other areas where it's broken, but this is it. And I've seen mods that address trade. I've seen mods that address some other things, and I've seen ones try to add more goods. It doesn't fix it. It does not fix the economy. Because until we tackle these strange inputs here of number of factory workers and input goods and output goods, the relationships that they have to each other are insane. And because of that, the game produces some weird results. Let me explain. If you're playing a decent-sized nation, by the end of the game, you've run out of people. In fact, around 1870 to 1880 in vanilla, you have 0 peasants, 0 unemployed, and you're looking at China like, I can get some workers from there. Let's conquer. And this is not why people conquered China. These countries were able to maintain a working population off of just who lived there and the natural birth rate. And they had unemployed people. They continued to have peasantry and small farmers well into the 20th century. So why did they disappear? At first I thought, well, the factories are just too big. So I did a little mod where I reduced the size of the factory populations. I tried one where I reduced them all at the beginning, and another one where I just phased in the reductions. Both of them gave me a large chunk of unemployed people and way more peasants at the start of the game, and it took longer to get them all their jobs. But by 1890, 1895, we're back to the point where we have 0 unemployment, 0 peasants, and where are those Chinese people that we can conquer to get some workers in our factories? Not good. So what was the problem? Why were we running out of these people? Then I looked at the actual production numbers, and I saw tool production. Now, tools happen to be the most productive good in the game. And I've had games where by 1890 or so, countries are making 20,000 tools or 30,000 tools, more than they need, and they can't sell them because all the other big countries in the world are making more tools than they have a need for. But because it is a productive good, the game keeps making them. This is why we need to have a total global demand, something in there that says if the world only needs this many tools, and if you make more than that, the price is going to collapse, you're not going to sell anymore, and these things go bankrupt and they should close down entirely. It doesn't happen. They look at what are the inputs required, what are the output that we get, how productive are we, make more. And so by the end of the game, it's not that we've really run out of people, it's just that they're all making tools because that's the way the private construction wants to go. Now, if you shut that off for your country, great. You won't have that issue, but the AI will because the AI is using the AI methods and they're going to keep making nothing but tools at a certain point. And that point tends to happen, well, around 1870, 1880, and that's why we suddenly start to run out of those people. Because we also improve our construction methods and we can build these things a lot faster. Now that I've given that introduction, and I've mentioned that the number of people per factory isn't really the solution. It may be part of it, but it may not be. Especially if we consider these factories or these units as just generic groupings. Maybe these 5,000 people aren't working one single iron mine, which would be a huge, like unbelievably huge. But maybe they're working several dozen iron mines. Okay, I can go with that. Fine, that makes sense. You can get, like, say, 60 iron mines in this state, and then that would mean you could have a total of 60 times 5,000. 300,000 miners working in that state. That makes sense. That lines up with a lot of places where, like, oh yeah, this place was famous for its iron production. They had 300,000 miners in 1907 chipping away and making 16 million tons of ore. Okay, that chipping away and making how many tons of ore? We could work out and say, okay, here's how many tons per week they're making, and then also get information about what is used to make that ore. And I can tell you they need a lot more than 15 tons of coal for 60 tons of iron, assuming these are all in some kind of similar unit, where we could say that a unit of coal by mass or volume is equivalent to, well, we'll say by volume, because not by mass, but yeah, the certain ton of, or well, maybe we can. Okay, a kilogram of coal, a kilogram of iron, or ton of coal, ton of iron, whatever it is, that they're like and like. And we're not going to say that a unit of coal is completely out of proportion to a unit of iron. That would be insane. So we've got these things here, and we're saying, oh yeah, 15 units of coal and 15 units of tool every week will get you 60 units of iron. And now this is with the the condensing engine pump, which is going to be pretty dominant during the late middle, or really not even the late middle, around 1850, 1860 is when these guys come online, and you're making tons of ore, whatever it is. The atmosphere, the condensing engine. Love those things. All right, so we're churning out the iron. Then what happens to that iron? Well, you could either send that iron directly to a tool factory if you're on iron tools, or if you're on steel tools and those kick in a little bit later, you send that iron to a steel factory. And if I go to a steel factory, now this is the production method for a steel tool, and you're going to have to trust me on this one, but if I'm using the open hearth process with steel production, 60 units of iron plus 30 units of coal will get me 90 units of steel. Now that is weird, and sorry about that there. 90 units of steel. There's no waste in that. In fact, somehow we get more steel than we started with. There's no waste. In fact, there's anti-waste. It's just like, I don't know, do they puff it up with air? Yeah, we got this inflatable steel. Yay, it's bigger, it's better, it's larger. Anyway, it's when we look at the difference between iron tools and steel tools. Now remember, we're getting 60 units of iron out of one iron thingy. Okay, you pipe it into the thing that stands for a tool factory or group of factories, whatever. 60 units of iron can feed 3 tool factories and get us 3 times 60. It's 180 units of tools. Not bad. That's very productive. Nice. Especially when you consider that if you have just the wooden tools, using the same amount of wood, just no iron, those same 3 factories are going to get you 90 units of tools. We got double that, 180. Ah, yeah. That's easy. Just put a little bit of iron in, you're smoking there. Very profitable. But wait, what if you send that iron to a steel factory and you get 90 units of steel off of that iron? True, you also add a little bit of coal, but that's fine. Coal's cheap. Same 30 units of wood and only 20 units of steel, and we get 80 units of tools. Okay, well, that 60 units of iron gave us 90 units of steel. Divide 20 into 90, you get 4.5. Multiply 80 by 4.5, you get 360. So that same amount of iron that got us 180 tools is now getting us double that if you turn it into steel first. 360. Wow! That's huge. And if we come around over here, we could actually the rubber grips, you know what? You got 30 units of steel, 10 units of rubber. I don't know what happened to the wood. It disappeared. We're just using these little tiny stubby rubber grips. I don't know. But those 90 units of steel are getting us only 330 units of tools. Nah, I'd rather have... I mean, that's per factory. So yeah, if we're, but these factories are more productive because we're getting more tools per unit of iron. We get 360 instead of 330. So yeah, use this production method and make loads of tools. And this comes online right around the time that you've improved your iron making to the open hearth process. You've got better construction methods. You've got the steel girders. So just go ahead and go nuts with those. And yeah, and then the game is going insane making tools at that point because you've got all the construction that is using that cheap steel and those cheap tools to make a lot of more buildings. And what's the most productive building? A tool building. So make a ton of tool buildings and woo, and then you have to turn all your iron into steel, and turn all your steel into tools, and turn all your tools into more things that make, until finally you run out of people and you can't build anything more, and then it's just, oh well, where are all my people? They're making iron, steel, and tools. I mean, chopping a little bit of wood too. But it's insane. Absolutely insane, because we're getting so much more out of this. Now, I can take the productivity of these factories and reduce it. Make it to where you get less steel from a steel factory. It's still profitable, but you get less of it. And you get way less tools out of this situation. It's still profitable, but fewer of them. It's, instead of it being like, wow, double, it's now like, oh, 10% more. Yay! Yeah. Let the production bonuses and throughput bonuses that are going to happen because of technology in the game, let them help improve these ratios. Because as these are now, if we apply any bonus to them, it gets even more insane, even more productive, even more wah, and the game goes even more nuts with that. And then you run out of the people because the game just doesn't know what else to do. Now, granted, this is a very real concern that was brought to my attention, is that if we fix tools, for example, whatever the next one in line is, that's going to be the next problem. So it can't just be just one area. It's got to go through all the goods in the game. The agricultural ones, the resources, the factory ones. Every one of them, and adjust. So we get more realistic numbers in there. And see how that plays. And then hopefully in 1.9, the powers that be decide that they're going to put like some kind of ultimate global demand in there, so we don't have a situation where every country is trying to make 600,000 units of tools because it's just more productive that way. They hit a limit and they can't sell anymore, and so they stop because they're going bankrupt doing it. That would be nice. But until that day happens, I've got to go in and take a wangle at this. And if 1.9 releases and they don't put those things in there, or they do have them in there, but it still goes weird because they haven't fixed these numbers, I've got to do this work and have it ready to go. It's a lot of old documents to read through. The 1910 Encyclopedia Britannica, congressional articles written to the U.S. Congress about production of iron and steel in Germany in 1907. I'm going through all these things here just to get information that helps to make more sense out of this information here. If you want to help out, come onto my Discord server and participate there. Just, be nice to everybody, and we'll be nice to you too. But absolutely, if you want to help out, and sign up, and we'll start doing more research and doing more modding, and put a zip file out and say, here, give it a go. And then eventually I'll have something I can put on the workshop, because right now what I have is a way to really mess up your game good. And what I want is something that will make the game a much more enjoyable experience. So we'll see about that. Hope you like, comment, and subscribe. Be nice to other people, and we'll see you in the future. Cheerio.